Going live? I'm live, I think. Okay. Yes, okay, I think I'm live. How exciting. I'm sorry that the lighting sucks. That's just state of affairs here. Let me tell folks that I'm live real quick. And then we'll just see. We'll see where this takes us. Hey guys, I'm live on YouTube. If you want to come hang out, link in bio.
Hey guys,
okay.
I'm live on YouTube. If you want to come.
Side note, I'm not like, they've been making some changes lately to Instagram that I'm not like super wild about, but what are you gonna do? They don't consult me on these things for whatever reason. They don't ask me if I'm cool with the changes that they're making. It's a real oversight on their part. Anyway, so yeah, I decided to do this to celebrate the fact that I have 3,000 subscribers now. I've actually like roughly doubled. Yeah, pretty much, because I'm almost at 3,400 now. I have almost doubled my subscribers since November. So that's wild. Yeah, it's been kind of fun. I've been seeing a lot of new people in the chat and a lot of new, you know, just like voices in the comments. So that's been fun. Anyway, I thought I would just hop on here, and I asked you guys what I should talk about because I haven't really done this before, this whole live thing, but I'm allowed to do it. So I figured I should use the features that I'm allowed to use. The only other time I've done a live is, it's really awkward to watch now because it was the day after my father passed away in the fall. And I don't know, like when you're grieving, you just get in this weird, like very catatonic state right after things happen. And I was very focused on, I'd been doing a Kate Daniels reread. And like the timing of his death was making me having to like redo my review schedule. And I was like, I have to finish this. So I did like a live review of the last Kate Daniels video, and it's very bizarre for me watching it now because I'm so clearly, at least to me, like completely out of it. So anyway, that's the only other time I've been live, but now I have this. So I thought that if people have questions, I could answer them or whatever, but I just thought I'd hang out for a little bit and maybe talk about, based on the poll, it looks like people mostly just wanted a random hangout, but I thought I could talk about the 3 books that I have liked best so far in 2019. You guys will tomorrow see my, oh, what's that? Let's see here. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry, I got a weird pop-up. Again, I'm new to this whole live thing, so we'll see how it goes. Oh yeah, tomorrow you guys will be seeing my What I'm Reading Right Now video, and in that you will discover that the first half of my reading month was like excessively mediocre. Like I didn't read anything terrible, but I definitely wasn't reading anything great. But the tide has started to turn, and so I've read 3 really good books so far this month. Probably my favorite thing. Oh, there's people here. Hi, Sharon. Sorry, again, this is all just novel and exciting. So I think probably my favorite of the things that I've read so far is Trail of Lightning. Hey, Elaine. So I like this so much that I had it as an ebook, and I ordered the hardback because I'm like, I'm definitely going to be wanting to collect this series. So the next one comes out in April. I will 100% be reading that. But this is definitely my favorite thing I've read so far. So this is like post-apocalyptic. Oh, hey, Robin. Hey, Dylan. Dylan or Candace? Not sure. Anyway, this is post-apocalyptic urban fantasy, like Native American own voices realness. Like, it's kind of hard to describe. So, like, I think what I said in my What I'm Reading Right Now, hey, Marielle, is that this is filling the Kate Daniels-sized hole that is always in my heart because, like, I'm always looking for an urban fantasy series that I will like as much. Now, do I think I'm going to like this as much? It is too early to say. But the world building is so interesting. I love that it's not just like laid out for you. So like that's something I really like in fantasy worlds where there's not just a lot of like bleh, like info dumping world building. Like I am way not into that. It really annoys me. And I just, anyway, it's a fine line to balance between giving you enough information so you know what's going on, and not just being like, here's a Wikipedia entry for my world. Please enjoy just reading this on the page for like 10 pages or whatever. And I think this does a nice balance of giving you enough context clues that you can figure out what's going on. Hey, Pam. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you enjoy watching. And Rashad, hello. So I really think that they do a good job of giving you context clues so you can figure out what is going on. But it's not like, it's neither too obscure nor just too laid out. So I really like the world building in this. It is a kick-ass heroine, but I think it's one done well. And like, this is so dark. Hey, oh, we're not even 5 minutes and I've already added a book to my wish list. That's, you know, that's what BookTube is for. It's to help you make bad decisions with your budget and your time. Yeah, like I spend all my time just adding things to Goodreads when I'm watching BookTube. Anyway, so yeah, so she is a typical kick-ass heroine in some ways, but because I think there's some genuine darkness here and she has a lot of genuine flaws, it doesn't bother me the way it sometimes does. Like, it doesn't feel like a super trite version of that. I also like that basically it's a very alpha protagonist heroine, and her male counterpart is much more like chill and mellow. I think that that's a nice dynamic. So anyway, I thought that this was like really interesting world building. I really liked the plot. Now, the biggest complaint I've heard on this book is that people think it's too like meandering, and it doesn't have, like, they think it's paced weird basically. But what I liked, I think one of the inspirations for this was Mad Max Fury Road. And I definitely think that there's some like road warrior kind of pacing to it. Like, you're sort of moving through this, you know, dystopian desert landscape. And it kind of has that vibe. So it takes a while for it to like really ramp up. But again, this is the first book in a series. So like, I tend to be a lot more patient for that kind of ramp up than I do in later books. So anyway, I am so excited to see where this is going. The next book comes out in April. I've got it on pre-order. Like, Mama's really liking this. So I gave this a 4.5 star. Another one that I gave a 4.5 star to that I really enjoyed so far this month was, what did I read? Oh, Bad Blood. I listened to that on audio and I just thought it was fantastic. So it's nonfiction, and I know that's not for everybody, but here's the deal. Investigative reporting, like good investigative reporting, is my catnip. And this is just like excellent investigative reporting. So apparently everybody else knew about this Theranos thing. Oh, hey, Stephanie. Knew about Theranos when that whole shit went down, I guess in like 2015, but that was right when I was moving back to the US from Canada. So like, I had been in grad school and just like not paying attention to any of that kind of stuff. So I didn't know anything about Theranos, but this big story broke in the Wall Street Journal, and there'd been this like big Silicon Valley startup that kind of just like tanked almost overnight because everybody found out that like, oh, this technology that they said they have, they don't have it at all. Like, they're not even close to having it, and they've been putting like millions of people's lives at stake. Whoops. It went from like $9 billion of equity to like nothing overnight. So the reporter who broke that story is the one who did the book. His name is John Carreyrou, I think is how you say his name. And I watched like a bunch of interviews with him after I read the book because I was very interested in it. But it's just like a super well-reported book in terms of like the actual investigative journalism aspect. So that's really, really good. I think that he does a really good job of sort of like picking specific anecdotes and like using that to kind of like craft a picture of the bigger culture. So like he'll pick like one employee's experience who maybe was even only there for like a month and realized it was crazy and like bailed. And he uses the details of that to really like give you a sense of what it was like to work there. And I mean, like so I've spent a lot of my life being sort of like a consultant. So I've gotten to see a lot of different corporate cultures given how like relatively young I still am in my career. And like, I think it paints the picture of like toxic work environments better than almost anything I've ever read. Yeah, Ian, Bad Blood is definitely on my must-read list. Theranos is one of the biggest cons of the recent decades, for sure. Like, I think I was really kind of just shocked that I didn't even hear about it. I think, again, it was because I was moving back to the US. But I think that when you're reading it, you're just like, if you've ever seen a toxic work environment, you're like, oh, yes, like the toxic, like overly aggressive way that like HR issues get handled, the like micromanagement to the nth degree to the point that nobody feels like they're able to actually make like an independent like decision for themselves, or to actually like do what they need to do to get their job done, like way overreacting to small issues. It's just like, just everything that you would hate to have in your workplace, like that's what this was, on top of the fact that they're also completely scamming people over healthcare stuff, which is like super scary. The other thing that I thought was fascinating about this book is it's also sort of an examination of privilege, and like, so the founder, I think, really saw herself as sort of a like pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of gal. But like, you realize that her family has squandered away a fortune. So like, I don't know in other countries like UK or Europe, whatever, but in the US, like the biggest yeast brand, like instant yeast, is Fleischmann's. And that was like her family's background. Like they were the family that started that business. And I guess like her granddad had squandered away a lot of the remaining wealth from that business. But she had like, I think, a real chip on her shoulder, and feeling like she kind of grew up in the trappings of privilege, like the trappings of families that have recently had money, but her family didn't have as much anymore. So she has all these connections, and she leveraged that to get what she needed to get her business going, but she herself didn't have it in the same way, I guess. I don't know. I thought that was so interesting. And then one of the key whistleblowers who helps take her down is the grandson of George Stoltz, who's like this big uppity-up in politics in the US. And, you know, he gets lauded, I think, rightfully for being brave and being a whistleblower, but you also have to think like, well, but he's also in the position where his family has $500,000 to defend him against this lawsuit that they were trying to put against him. So like, I just think, yeah, it was just sort of an interesting dynamic of privilege, and an interesting dynamic of entitlement, new money, new technology, old technology. Like, it was just a super fascinating book. I think it has like 35,000 reviews on Goodreads, and the average is still right around 4.5 stars. So like, that's impressive. Yeah, I mean, it's just really good. I don't think I've heard many people say that they didn't like it. Yeah, and yeah, she thought she was going to be the next Steve Jobs. Like, even she would like dress in the like black turtlenecks. Oh man. I mean, she was so young. She started this company at 19. So like, I think she just, privilege and youth and hubris, it was a very toxic mixture. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it on audio too, by the way. You guys know that's how I like to take my nonfiction in general. So that was really good. I had another book. What was I gonna? Oh, Luna and the Lie. I don't have a lot to say about it. It was Mariana Zapata's latest book. She's one of my favorite contemporary romance authors. And this has maybe the best grovel I have ever seen. Maybe not the best, but one of the best grovels I've ever seen. Because this drives me nuts in contemporary romance, or just romance in general. One of the two people will do something terrible to the other person that would be completely trust shattering. It would make you never want to like be with that person anymore. And then like a day later, they're like, well, whatever, it was fine. You're so cute. I still love you. And I'm like, no, like you have to rebuild trust, or like, how can you have a future together? This is crazy. So anyway, this was a book that had the best grovel I have ever seen. So I think those are the three books that I've been reading recently that I've liked the best. Yeah. Thoughts? Anybody read anything good recently, or I don't know. I always want to know, because people sometimes will leave me comments telling me that I've convinced them to try something that they haven't tried before. So I would definitely like to know if anybody has tried something on my recommendation that they wouldn't have tried otherwise. I'm trying to think, what else can I tell you guys about? Oh, I was going to talk to you guys about the books that I meant to read in 2018 and didn't. I made like a big list at the beginning of the year, and I don't know how successful that actually was. I had 34 things on it. Oh man, I don't think I got to all of those. Oh yay, Serena's been reading a romance because I seem so into it. Yes. Yeah, romance is not for everybody. And I think you have to find, I think with any genre, the biggest thing is you got to find your version of the genre that you like, or else it's just not going to work for you, right? Like, I mean, mystery, like I have very specific things I like in mystery. I have very specific things I like in fantasy, and I have very specific things I like in romance. But you have to do kind of like the work to be able to figure out what all that is. So that's part of the journey, is putting in the time reading wise to figure out what it is that you like in a given genre. Oh, yes. Okay, Stephanie read The Witness by Nora Roberts because I talked about it and she loved it. And that makes me so happy because I love those Nora Roberts standalones. Oh, Imagine the Day says she finally started the Kate Daniel series. My mother, okay, so I got my mom, I always give people the second book in the Kate Daniels series to start with. I got my mom the second book in Kate Daniels for Christmas last year, and she's in Arizona right now on vacation, and she just texted me yesterday saying she started it, and she's so into it. And I'm like, yes. It's like, I'm an evangelist for the Kate Daniels series. Serena said, I just read a novel that kind of made fun of its worst cliches, so I think I'm enjoying it for the wrong reasons. No, I don't think that's the wrong reason. I love meta things that are like, I really like parodies in general because sometimes it lets me enjoy something in a genre that I wouldn't be able to enjoy otherwise because there's some level of self-awareness, so I think that's totally fine. Jenny, hello from Ireland. Ooh. That's exciting. So I studied abroad in Cambridge. So I've traveled quite a bit in England, but I've not gone to Wales, Scotland, or Ireland or Northern Ireland. So that is definitely high on my wish list of things to travel. Marielle says Mariana Zapata is one of her favorite authors. Yes, I'm with you. She does a slow burn, man. Like she's the queen of the slow burn and just like the crackalicious writing. Rashad says The Rook was a book that I read based on your recommendation and loved it. Yay! The Rook is another sort of like book that I would say is very taste defining for me because it's so genre bending. Funny and engaging characters. I agree. It's very, I think it's really hard for books to be genuinely funny. But I think The Rook definitely succeeds in that. I think I did a whole video on books that actually genuinely make me laugh, but yeah, that is definitely a funny book. Hey, Mandy. Dylan says, I subbed yesterday because of your favorites of 2018. I love the fact that I hadn't heard of many of the books mentioned. Oh, that makes me so happy. Yeah, I try. So I think I've talked about this in my 2019 goals. I'm really trying to get back even more into backlist again. Reading frontlist is fun, and I really enjoy being up on the hype and like, you know, Trail of Lightning, like when the next book comes out, that's going to be frontlist and I'm going to want to read it. You know, like I like staying up on series that are ongoing. But I mean, I really like backlist because just think about how many books have been published to date. Like you could read books just from like the 19th century for the rest of your life and still not hit all of the good ones. Like there's so much good backlist that I don't know. Like, I think it's a shame. I mean, I totally get why there's such an emphasis on frontlist. It's because, you know, that's where the money is from the publishers, frankly. And, you know, I think it's also easier to kind of rally a bunch of people around something new and shiny. So it's fun to kind of stay up with the hype. But I don't know. I really like to make sure that I'm hitting backlist, and I'm trying to focus more on that this year because there have been so many books over even just the last 5 years that I've meant to get to that I haven't. So I'm trying to. Yes, Serena says so little life for so many books. Genuinely, sometimes I go into a library and I just like stand there and gaze around and have like existential despair over the fact that I will never be able to read all of the books that I want to read. I think that's another reason why I read so much. I mean, I don't really watch a lot of TV these days or see a lot of movies. That's a lot of how I have time to read so much. But a part of it is also that I'm just so aware of how many books I want to read that I think I'm always kind of feeling like keep going, keep trying to read because you're trying to get through so many books. So I'm always sort of trying to get to my never-ending TBR. I'm about to move, so I've been doing some book counting, and I think physical books unread right now, I have about 400. It's a lot. But I like it. I always have been that way. I always have a lot of books around that I haven't read. But when you think about that, like last year I read 300 books. So even if I read the same number of books this year and got no new ones, I would still not have read all the books in my house that I have not yet read. It's mildly / very shameful. Okay, Ian says, I've recently started reading P.D. James because I wanted to try another legendary British female mystery writer other than Christie. So far, I'm enjoying her writing edgier and darker than Christie. Yeah, so I tried to read P.D. James. Sorry, I've got a lamp. Let's see if this will brighten things up at all. Oh, doesn't work, so no, it will not. I tried to read P.D. James in college. and just could not get into it. But I would be interested to try again with her just because people love her so much. Is it Children of Men? That's one of her kind of like sci-fi-ish or like, I don't know, like alternative future dystopia type things that's really famous. Children of God, Children of Men. So I would like to try that because people like it so much. But I didn't really, I just couldn't get into her writing style. Ian says to try her short stories. Yeah, I might. I do love short stories, so in general, that's always a good route for me. Serena has been listening to Murder at the Vicarage, read by Joan Hickson. That is awesome. So my review of Murder at the Vicarage went up Friday. And I am really enjoying my Marple reread, guys. If you are not in on the fun, definitely think about joining. Serena, I actually tried to listen to that audio recording because that was the one that my library had, and I did not enjoy her as a narrator, which I know is controversial because she seems to be the favorite Marple interpreter of the ones that are available. But yeah, not for me. I don't know. There was something about her cadence that didn't quite work for me. I wonder if it was because it's a story told from the perspective of Len the vicar. Like, I wonder if it had been a Miss Marple narrator, if I would have liked that better. Because part of what I like about, like, Hugh Fraser does a lot of at least the Poirot audiobooks. He is Hastings in the David Suchet adaptations. So I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm used to thinking of him as a narrator. I don't know. It just didn't quite work for me. But I'm glad that you're enjoying it. I love Lynn and Griselda in that book. I wish Lynn was the narrator of all of the Marple books. I would enjoy that. But I also finished The 13 Problems this week. So my review of that will be up not this Friday, but next Friday. And yeah, it's amazing. It's so good. I love Agatha Christie short stories. They're so light and fluffy and just enjoyable. And I actually really like the framing device in that particular one. I think it works really well. Also, Raymond West is such a boob. Like, he's just the worst, but kind of in a delightful way. Serena says, I know she's too posh for a male vicar. I don't know. Sounds like the Queen is reading me a bedtime story. I'm also so sick. That might be about me. No, I think that kind of captures it. Yeah, she didn't work for me as a narrator, but I listened to part of that, and then I found a different audio that I listened to part of when I was at work. And there was a dude narrating that one. It worked a little bit better for me. So, but anyway, yeah. So Mission Marple is definitely happening. If you want to get in on the action, the Goodreads group has had some good discussion happening. Rashad says, my favorite Marple is The Sleeping Murders. That is one of the ones I have not read yet. So I think that, I don't have my little list around here anyway, but I think of the roughly 13 or 14 Marple novels, I have not read 3 or 4 of them, and The Sleeping Murders is one. So I'm looking forward to reading that for the first time, and glad to know that you enjoyed it. Let's see, have you listened to any of the BBC audio dramatizations? I listened to Murder at the Vicarage last week. Very enjoyable performances and very close to the novel. Yes, I actually often will listen to the BBC audio before I do my reviews, just because, I don't know, I think that they, just in their sort of acting it out, they kind of pick up on different themes, or sometimes the acting makes me kind of see things in a different way. But they are so great. I have access to 2 libraries, and between them, they have most of those radio dramas. And they're usually really quick to get through. They're usually like an hour or 2. So they're a nice little thing to do while I'm working on something. I wish Angela Lansbury narrated them. Girl, same. Angela Lansbury is a fucking goddess. I absolutely love her. And she's my favorite Marple by far, which I know is controversial because most people love Joan Hickson so much. But Angela, she's so great. I love The Mirror Cracked. When we get there, I'm going to do a live stream reviewing The Mirror Cracked, which stars Angela Lansbury, because it's just amazing. Like, Elizabeth Taylor in that is everything. Angela Lansbury is just so great in every Christie adaptation she's in. Oh, I love her. The next Mission Marple book is a short story collection, isn't it? I should check if my library has that one. Can anyone give me the title again? It is The 13 Problems. It's also known as the Tuesday Night Club. But really, the first 6 short stories in that collection are the Tuesday Night Club, and then we move to a different dinner party which I guess could be like the Mantry dinner party for the other 6. And then the 13th story is after both of those dinner parties. So yeah, that's a good one to jump in on if you're interested in Marple, because even Agatha Christie herself said she felt like Marple worked best as the star of a short story. Serena says, yes, The Mirror cracks so many amazing actresses. I got obsessed with all the adaptations after I found your video about the Orient Express movies. Yes, Mirror cracked, like that whole production that they had going from like Orient Express, Death on the Nile, The Mirror cracked, like the production value in terms of the people they were getting in them is amazing. Also, fun fact, in The Mirror cracked, that is Pierce Brosnan's first movie role. He doesn't have any lines, but he's being like clutched to Elizabeth Taylor's bosom, and as she's like a middle-aged woman and he's like a hot young stud. I mean, it's everything. Oh, that movie is so good. Oh, thank you, With Cinnamon. With Cinnamon Please is always in my comments and always makes me so happy because she's so positive. I think she has a channel. You should go check it out. But yeah, I could talk about Agatha Christie all day. I love her so much. It's kind of a problem. I'm thinking in my new house, I'm going to have a bookshelf dedicated to her. So like, I've been thinking about how I can kind of like present my collection that I have, especially because I have some of these beautiful new, actually, hold on just a second. There's some like gorgeous new editions that I got. These are so beautiful. So, there's 4 of them that I know about, and only 3 of them are in stock right now. So I got this one. I got the 450 from Paddington. The Mystery of the Blue Train is on the way, and I will get the ABC Murders. It's so beautiful. I have to pretty much just get these from Book Depository because it's kind of annoying to get a hold of them here in the US. But anyway, I'm thinking that what I'll do is sort of like take these and kind of like have them face out, maybe, and then I'm not sure what I'll do with the other ones, but hey, Marina. I kind of want to read those mysteries set in Ancient Egypt because of the Christie mystery set in Ancient Egypt. Yeah. I haven't really read what is it? Death is the End. That's one Christie I've not read because I've heard mixed reviews on it. Coffee, books, and bullet journals. Hello. Yes, this is a beautiful edition. I love these. They're so, so pretty. Let's see. After I saw The Murder on the Orient Express, the 70s version, I regained faith in book to movie adaptations. Yeah, that's one of my all-time favorites. And I will tell you, some people absolutely hate that movie, and I have a hard time understanding that because I love it so much. But I mean, like, I'm never going to tell somebody they're wrong about an opinion, but I absolutely adore that adaptation. So let's see. Ian says, I bought the ABC Murders Vintage Edition last week. Nice. Yeah, I'm wondering, because that's the only one of these 4 that's not in stock right now. And I'm wondering if it's because that adaptation just came out that maybe it's sold out right now. I don't know. It's very annoying. What book would you recommend starting with from Agatha Christie? Ooh, well. So I have 2 videos up that have like where to start with suggestions. So that's like my full thoughts. Off the cuff, I would probably tell you to start with And Then There Were None, just because I think it's probably her most famous. That or Murder on the Orient Express. Those are 2 pretty good places to start. I absolutely love Cards on the Table. That's my favorite Agatha Christie. And another one I would put in the mix is Crooked House. That's like a top 5 Christie for me, and I think it's a standalone. So, you know, in that respect, people, you know, like, you don't have to worry about missing anything in the series. But Christie is somebody you can read pretty much out of chronological order and it not be a problem. They're very episodic. I mean, like, you might get some allusions to spoilers if you read the later ones first. But really, don't read the later ones first because they're not her best. I was talking with somebody in the comments about, because I read Passenger to Frankfurt last year as a part of my like lowest rated Goodreads challenge. And she was like, it occurred to me when I was reading this, what if this was someone's first Christie? They would think she was terrible. And I was like, oh my God, like they should have a warning on the cover of that one because it is one of her only truly bad books. So do not start with Passenger to Frankfurt. Even if it sounds good to you, don't do that. But most of the other ones, if you find a description that sounds good to you, like roll with it because none of them, very few of them are bad. Some of them are just better than others. Let's see, Serena says, fun fact, there's a French series that takes Poirot plots but switches the detective with a French detective and sets them in France, and it kind of pissed me off. Get your plots, people. Hey, I would kind of be interested in that. I wonder, well, I mean, his name is Poirot, he's Belgian. Like, why did they even switch the detective? Like, he's already Belgian, he's Francophone? That seemed odd. There's also, I think that there's a Japanese anime series of Christie books, or at least of the Marple ones, that I'm like, I'd be kind of interested. I'd be interested to see how they kind of translated that. Let's see here. Forgive me, this has been discussed already since I'm just joining the discussion. Hey, Columbus. What's your thoughts on the Christie pastiche novels, aka, or example, Sophie Hannah? Yeah. I am not personally interested in the Sophie Hannah Poirots because what I love about Agatha Christie most is her writing style or her voice. And I know that I'm sure she does a perfectly adequate job trying to kind of recreate that. But I don't even like last year I tried to read a novelization of a Christie play. So like the dialogue was all Christie. And the plot was Christie. It just had like some of the description filled in, and I did not enjoy that. So, I mean, I just don't think, for me, it's just not a project I'm personally interested in. I can totally, I mean, it's sort of like fan fiction. And in this case, it doesn't work for me because what I'm most interested in is her voice. So fan fiction can't really fully recreate that. Marina agrees Cricket House is amazing. Yes. And Stuart Frankfurt is horrible. Ian says, or start with some of Christie's short stories and novellas to see if you like her style, Murder in the Muse, etc. I think starting with Christie's short stories is a great idea. I think in that Where to Start with Poirot, I had some suggestions, but yeah, I think Murder in the Muse, if you want to get a sense of like the Poirot plots, that would be a great one to start with. It's 4 novellas and they have very classically Christie kind of plot twists and whatnot in them. Have I read a book by Andrew Wilson, the one where Agatha Christie is the protagonist? No, I have not. I haven't even heard of that. Rashad, yes, Passenger Frank was absolutely terrible. Yeah, it is. I mean, I felt almost like I was cheating on Agatha or like betraying her or something when I was reading that book. So I was sitting there like, I have never had an actively bad time reading an Agatha Christie novel until now. It was just so bad. Yeah. You know, she was old, and there's some studies that suggest that maybe she was having some like dementia issues. So like, good on her. Like, honestly, it was bad, but like still better than many like suspensey thrillery type things that I've read before. So like, you know, like we're all allowed to get old and maybe lose some of our spark. That's just how it goes. Poirot Marple, I tried, but did not succeed, and I've seen some bad anime in my time. Okay, I guess that must be the Japanese anime series. Okay, well that's good to know. I don't know. I'm kind of wanting to see if I can like find like some bootleg YouTube of it and just like see what it's about. I don't know. I'd be just curious. I don't know. The whole aesthetic of anime with Christie is like an intriguing concept to me. Let's see. The only Agatha Christie I've read is The Mousetrap, and it's a play, but loved it. Yeah. I actually saw The Mousetrap when I was studying abroad, and that was like on my bucket list of things I wanted to do. And I think the people who saw it with me were like not into the fact that I immediately knew what was going on because I've read so much Christie. Like if you've read a lot of Christie, you kind of can see what's going to happen from a million miles away, I think. But it was still just lovely. And like, you know, I had my picture taken outside against the playbill and all that kind of stuff. So that was a fun experience. The theater in England is just like, I love how accessible it is. That's just like, I don't know if the Brits know how lucky they are just to have like so much accessible, affordable, and just like regular theater access. I don't know. At least when I was there, I was like, I could, you know, go see a random play any night of the week, practically, it felt like. It's kind of more of a to-do here in the US, so I really enjoyed that about my time there. I also love Why Didn't They Ask Evans? I also love that for a very idiosyncratic reason that I can't tell you, but yes, I like that one a lot too. I like a lot of those early kind of action-adventure ones that she has. I know some people don't. Oh, you stage managed it when you were in college. That's so cool. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Sorry, this has turned into like my Christie cast. I could just talk about Agatha Christie all day. And I still like, I love her, but people like Ian, who's on here, he knows way more about Agatha Christie than I ever will, or Eamon, who's in my comments a lot. Yeah, I'm definitely far from a Christie like expert. I just happen to really love her. Yeah, good stuff. So I finished the 13 Problems. I've got The Body in the Library next, and then after that is The Moving Finger, and The Moving Finger is actually one that I have not read before. So I'm excited to get to that. It's kind of bittersweet because with Christie, I've been like parceling out my new reads from her slowly over time because I didn't want to just like get them all. But I think, so I'm doing Mission Marple this year. I did Project Poirot last year. And I do think probably in 2020, I will do like Tommy and Tuppence Time or something. There's only like 5 of those. So I'll probably do like one a month for the first few months in 2020. And yeah, after that, I think I've read almost all of the novels. And the ones that I have left, I think, are some of her less accomplished ones. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just you come to that time in your time with an author at some point where, you know, you've read all there is to read. Like Jane Austen, I only have 2 left from her. And I'm going to be real sad when I'm done. I'm going to read Northanger Abbey this year, and I think I may even also read Mansfield Park. I may just let myself be done. I'm still trying to decide. Raina's reading her first Marple. Yay, that's so great. Okay, you'll have to let me know what you think, because I know you've read other Christie, and she's definitely a very specific flavor. You could do a standalone mission if you want. Yeah, I could. I don't know. I think at that point I'll just sort of polish them off one by one. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I talked about Crooked House and Then There Were None during Project Poirot just because I love those 2 standalones so much. But I also really like Sparkling Cyanide. That's another standalone Christie that I really enjoy. I just read the same Austens over and over again and always get anxious to the end about, will they marry? I know. Well, isn't that like, I don't know. I love rereading, and I know that some people never reread, which I get, but I guess for me, I think I've talked about this before, I'm always most interested in how in a book and not interested in what so much. I actually have to be really careful when I'm doing reviews because I am so spoiler insensitive that I always am like trying to remind myself that other people care about spoilers because like you could literally sit here and tell me, like if I'd never read Murder on the Orient Express, you could sit here and tell me the entire whodunit of it, and I would still be interested to read it because I would want to see how it happened for myself. So yeah, I totally get that about rereading because I don't know, like I just feel like every time you do a reread, you kind of learn something new. And with like a master like Jane Austen, it's just like she has so much going on in her books that there's always new things to kind of unpack and enjoy, I think. So would love to know your thoughts on annotating books. Do you do it? And if so, what is your method? Tabbing, highlighting, underlining. Yes, I definitely do annotate, specifically on, this is kind of, BookTube has influenced me on this. So I definitely have always annotated nonfiction. So little backstory is that if you don't know, I grew up very religious. And so I grew up doing a lot of Bible study, and you are encouraged to have a very marked up Bible to show just how holy you are. So I think I definitely got kind of in the mindset of kind of like marking up nonfiction early on. And and then when I was in grad school, like definitely I would mark up my books that I owned, at least not one of those savages who would dare mark up a library book. I'm not that kind of girl. I have values and morals. But I would definitely mark up books. And then I also had these little like coppery tab things I would use for my library books. And then I would transfer the notes that I had taken into like, it's called Zotero. If you're ever looking for a good bibliographic free software, it's really good. So I definitely have always done that for nonfiction. And then now that I'm on BookTube, especially for something like Mission Marple, I definitely annotate more. Like if I'm going to be doing a book review, I try in fiction reads to be better about like marking down specific quotes I really like, especially in ebook. It's so easy because you can just like drag and hold. So yeah, I do that more. But anyway, yeah, I'm not like, I really like having, obviously I really like having nice copies of books, but ultimately I do think that books are supposed to be functional. So like, I don't dog ear pages. I can't quite bring myself to do that. And in terms of like having sticky notes or writing in books, like that doesn't bother me, because like that to me is a part of how I'm like, that's part of even the point of having a physical book, is that I'm trying to engage with it in a physical way. So anyway, don't know if any of that made sense, but there you go. Rereading is great. There's so many details I don't catch the first time. And some people are so great with subtle foreshadowing. Yeah, I actually love that when you've read a book and you go back and reread and you pick up on all the things that you didn't notice the first time. That's always great. In rereads, you notice things you never noticed the first time, like in Pride and Prejudice. At some point, Mr. Collins points out that Lady Catherine suggested to put shelves in the closet, and it cracks me up so bad. Yeah, the whole closet shelf situation in Pride and Prejudice always makes me laugh. Am I a feminist? Fuck yeah. Did you ever compete in Bible trivia? Yes, I absolutely did. I also was the reigning sword drill champ. Come at me. I definitely have that. Lena Montgomery, I'm just getting here. I love your channel. Your broad range inspires me. Thank you. I'm a fellow rereader. Different feel every time. Will you read The Pearl by John Steinbeck? It'll be an easy classic to get you through the year. So, I don't like John Steinbeck. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to try again with him. So, I read The Grapes of Wrath in high school and hated it. Like, completely hated it. I felt like it was so slow, and I felt like it had been so hyped up to me as like this great work of American literature. But that being said, I do own The Pearl because it was a Penguin Clothbound Classic pick, and it's very short. I also now own Of Mice and Men, which is very short. So I think I'm going to try to read those two, and if I do better with them, everybody has been talking up East of Eden so much in the last few years. Like, I think East of Eden is emerging over The Grapes of Wrath as like what is considered to be Steinbeck's sort of like masterwork. So if I can do okay with The Pearl and Of Mice and Men, I might dip my toes back into Steinbeck. Kate Nola, hey Mara, so glad to find you on YouTube. Beside Agatha Christie books that are on audio, do you have any favorite books that you listen to on audio? Yes, I am definitely a big audio, like that's a huge part of how I get through so many books. And my number one thing that I like to listen to on audio is nonfiction. So I like, oh man, I think I did. There's a whole video I have out there somewhere on suggestions for audio picks. And I also have a suggested picks for Nonfiction November that mentions some good audio. But off the top of my head, I really like Michael Lewis on audio. I like business type books. That's part of why I like Bad Blood, which I was talking about at the beginning of the video. I really like that kind of nonfiction. I think he does that really well. Who else do I like on audio? I like memoirs on audio, especially if the person who wrote the memoirs is reading it. I like that. So yeah, audio is great. I found that I tend to like mystery audio and fantasy audio for fiction, but in general, nonfiction is mostly what I read on audio. Luke says, I'm currently reading a book called Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. Liking it so far. Have you heard of it? I really want to read. I want to listen to that audio. I've heard it's fantastic, and I really like Trevor Noah. So I haven't gotten to that one yet, but that's on my radar. Bookish, yeah. Similar religious experience as kids. Yes, there's a lot of us Bible kids out there. I read Of Mice and Men in high school, and I was the only one that really enjoyed it in my class. See, a lot of people told me that that's like one of their favorite classics that they've read, like when they read in high school. I actually know like the twist of it, but I figured that's, you know, I don't think it's a book you're reading primarily for the plot. I've not tried funny Steinbeck like Cannery Row or Tortilla Flat, but I don't know, I'd be open to it. East of Eden is great. One of my favorite books. Have I read Lolita? Lolita is not for me. It's not for me. And I totally understand that it's a classic and other people love it. It's just not something that I'm going to ever be able to get through. But I do have Penin from Nabokov, and I am very excited. I don't know if I put that on my 19 and 19 list, but that is one I keep meaning to get to and not. But that's going to be my first full Nabokov. This live video is making my flu night so much better. Oh, I'm so glad. I hope you feel better. The flu, it's that time of year, man. Lena, the Grapes of Wrath sucked my life away. Yes, my line about the Grapes of Wrath is that I was so bored by the end of it. I was thrilled to get to, oh God, what's it called? The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, which if you've read, you know is a brutal book. But I was like, you know what? I'd rather see these kids drowning in blood in the street than keep reading the Grapes of Wrath. Marina also loves listening to audiobooks, nonfiction. It's like listening to a long podcast. Exactly. I think if you like podcasts and you've not tried nonfiction audio, you definitely should, because it engages similar parts of my brain, at least. Andrea, hey, love the channel. Are you and Doris from Aldi Books and Jenny King going to do a Tennessee vlogger meetup? Okay, so I don't know Doris, actually, but I will... Actually, let me make a little note because I love my Tennessee sisters here. Jenny texted me when she was last in Nashville, and sadly we couldn't make it work because it was on a work day. But at some point, I think she and I are going to try to go to McKay's together. I love Jenny King. If you're not watching her channel, you definitely should be. She's great. Listening to Hunger by Roxane Gay on audio currently, highly recommend. Hunger was my favorite book of 2017, and I would dare say it's probably my favorite memoir I've ever read. So I'm glad to hear that the audio is good as well. Kate read The Witch of Willow Hall because of me and loved it. Yay, that makes me so happy. Okay, actually, funny story. So you guys know I talk about Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany a lot because she's one of my best booktube pals. We talk a lot. And apparently somebody, she was recommending The Witch of Willow Hall. And guys, like, if you're not a YouTuber or a booktuber, just so you know, like, whenever you're recommending books, you're always self-conscious about it. Because, like, if you recommend something and somebody hates it, you feel bad. Like, you feel bad about pointing them in the wrong direction. And so, like, usually I think all of us try to kind of couch, like, hey, here's what I liked about it, and give people a sense of, like, why we're recommending it and if it's a good recommendation for them. And apparently she was recommending The Witch of Willow Hall, and somebody got, like, really salty, I guess, because they read it and didn't like it on her recommendation, and I don't think they realized that she reads her comments or something. I don't know. It just made me laugh, and I felt so bad for Bethany. I was like, girl, sometimes people on the internet are a little bit crazy. Oh, Stephanie, I didn't know you were in Tennessee. Yeah, McKay's is the jam. So, okay, here's the tea, guys. If you are ever in Tennessee, the best McKay's is in my hometown, which is in Knoxville, but it's like a double-decker paradise of books. Besides Powell's, it is the best used bookstore I've ever been to. But the one in Nashville is also really good. Well, actually, I say that. I've not been there yet, but I keep meaning to. When I was last there, it was small, and I didn't realize it had gotten huge. So now it's also a double-decker used bookstore, but it's awesome. Like, I take my big bag of books that I want to unhaul down there. I get trade, and then I get new books. It's amazing. So yes, McKay's is definitely a treasure of Tennessee. I highly recommend it. I think the bookstore people most know from Tennessee is Parnassus, which is here in Nashville, because Ann Patchett owns it, and she's like a big literary fiction author, and it is great. Like, it's a great independent bookstore, definitely worth going to, but we actually have a lot of great independent bookstores here in Nashville. I've been really delighted to be in a city with so many, because actually, really, sorry, I just am, by the way, realizing that I'm able to just, like, monologue. I hope you guys are okay with that. I'm just running my mouth here. I started BookTube because right after I got out of grad school, I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'm not saying that there's not good bookstores there. I'll just say that, like, the ones I tried to go to, I did not enjoy. I was having a hard time finding anybody in my life who could, like, who was interested in books or would talk about books with me. And so that's why I started this channel, because after grad school, especially if you do, like, a liberal arts program, is basically like a gigantic book club. And I just really missed having people to talk about books with. So Charlotte, I didn't have as good of luck with my bookstore situation, but Nashville has been great. Andrea says the best is the original in Greensboro, North Carolina, where I went to college. Now I live near Memphis, and there's no McKay's, and I'm sad. I didn't realize that the Greensboro one was the OG. Huh, okay, good to know. Yeah, I never actually went to the original in Greensboro, but the next time I'm over there, I'll have to go. Is it a big double-decker one, or is it small? Yeah, are there good sorry, Andrea, I'm just shamelessly like, help me scope this out, because I actually have some friends in Memphis and I'd be interested the next time I'm there to look. Are there good bookstores in Memphis? Any recommendations? Or maybe like Jackson? Sometimes I meet people in Jackson. I only have one small bookstore near me. I usually have to buy online to get the books I'm interested in. Yeah, the thing is, bookstores are like a dying, well, I don't know. I think that there's been a resurgence of smaller bookstores. But yeah, it's sad when there's not a good bookstore near you, but I don't know. I'm never going to be somebody who shames people for going to using Amazon, for instance. Like, yes, it is the Voldemort of books, but like, it's like, what are you going to do? It's just like that we're living in this capitalist, like, it just is what it is. Like, I'm never going to make people feel bad about using Amazon. And like, frankly, I'm in a situation where I can afford to buy new books at a independent bookstore. And I do that because I appreciate having them in my community and I go to the book clubs and stuff, but like, not everybody can afford that. And I think it's really important for people to own books. Like, having books in the home, especially if they're kids, is really important, I think. So like, get your used books, go to the library, like order them from Amazon, like do what you got to do. Ooh, okay. Andrea says it's huge. Good to know. Okay, so there's another recommendation. If you are in Greensboro, go to that McKay's as well. There's a McKay's in Nashville, Knoxville. There's a smaller one in Chattanooga, and then apparently there's a huge one in Greensboro. So, bookstores of the South. We're just giving you a little verbal travel guide here. Do I have any recommendations for locked room mystery? I don't know if I got that right, but something like Orient Express or And Then There Were None. If you're looking for another locked room Christie, I think the Sittaford mystery is a pretty good one. That's a standalone. I think Hercule Poirot's Christmas is like, like a really hardcore one. Yeah, actually, it's pretty, Hercule Poirot's Christmas, I don't want to get spoilery, but like, it is straight up savage. Like, if you really take a moment and think through what happens in that book, it's like, damn, Agatha, like, I don't know why we're calling you cozy. A more recent locked room one that I've enjoyed, or like, kind of like And Then There Were None, where they're all stranded together, was An Unwanted Guest by Sherry Lapina. I read that last year. I'll warn you that it's told in first person, which I don't love. But I think it's like they're all trapped together, snowed in at a little bed and breakfast in the Northeast. And I enjoyed that. I think it's a nice, cozy winter read. Voldemort offers free 2-day shipping for Prime members. So yeah, that's how Voldemort gets you. It's just like, this can literally be on my doorstep in 2 days for $10. So drive me to Hogwarts and get me my snake tattoo, because I guess that I'm, a Death Eater now. I just want to say thanks for your videos. Gave me the leap to try mystery books. Oh, yay. That makes me so happy. Yay. Yeah, I think like I was saying earlier, I think for genre fiction, you just got to find the ones that work for you, and it takes some experimentation, but you can get there. Kate says locked room mysteries are my favorite too. I think they're everyone's favorites. I don't know why there's not more of these. There's like all these domestic thrillers that are getting really popular these days in mystery, and I'm like, I don't know. It's just not, I say that. I'm glad that people are reading books they like. It's just not my favorite part of the genre, but what you gonna do? Robin says the only bookstore near me is a used bookstore. It's a good used bookstore, but it sucks that it's the only option. Yeah, that does suck. But in the age of the internet, the other thing, people shit on Amazon, but I'm like, people who live in rural communities, at least in the US, like if they didn't have Amazon or their library like was willing to deliver to them, they would never get to read anything. So like, thank God for Kindles and stuff like that. Marina's going to check out The Unwanted Guest. Great. Let me know how you do with it. Like I said, I have some problem with the actual narrative, but I think it will give you the locked room mystery fun. Have I read P.D. James? We were talking about that earlier. I have tried her when I was in college and didn't love, but I think I might try again. Poirot's Christmas really is savage. Damn, girl. Yeah, it is. I keep thinking of her as the way she... Oh, okay, yeah. I don't watch Doctor Who. I know I should, because every time I see clips of it, I'm like, I would really enjoy this. Burke's Books is a used bookstore in Memphis in the Cooper Union District. Okay, good to know. I like it a lot, but outside of that one, I haven't been to too many. My favorite, unfortunately, closed. Oh, that's sad. I'm sorry. Okay, but I'll have to try Burke's the next time I'm in Memphis. The next time I'm getting some good barbecue there, too, because let's be real here. I found Mariana Zapata through your channel. Yay! She's like some of my favorite crack. Any recommendations for other slow burn romance books with similar writing style to Zapata? If you've not tried Penny Reed, her first one, Neanderthal Seeks Human, and the Knitting in the City series is a very slow burn romance. And yeah, so I think that would be a good one to try if you like Zapata. She has that same sort of like crackalicious element to her writing, which is what I think works so well in Zapata. Yeah, Marianne Zapata is a very particular flavor. It's hard to find, I think, adequate read-alike titles, which is why I need her to like, she was publishing 2 books a year, and I'm going to need her to get back on that game because it's some of my favorite, just like brain candy. Have you checked out any little free libraries that have a great one near me? They have Becoming by Michelle Obama. Girl, that is a good little free library. I do have some near me. Most of the ones I go to have mostly like boring technical manuals as what they have in there. So a lot of them aren't great, but I found I've heard people talk about this. This is not like a fresh take, but I do get disheartened because I think the best little free libraries tend to be in areas that are relatively affluent. And I think the idea is so lovely behind little free libraries, which is like, hey, like get books out into the community. But I think that the communities that already have access to good books often are not the ones who are getting the good books in their little free libraries. But anyway, all that to say, whenever I pass by one, like if I'm out on a walk, I do always take a picture and usually put it on my Instagram stories because it makes me really happy. So yeah. Congrats on that score, because Becoming is like a hot book. I'm impressed that somebody gave that up. Andrea says, Memphis is actually an hour outside of where I live because I'm hella rural. We just had a local one open and I'm excited, but up until that point, had to live off Amazon. Yeah, actually, most of my friends who live in Memphis actually are in the same situation. They live like an hour outside of Memphis. So, Tennessee, you didn't come here for Tennessee talk, but you're getting it. It's been, I was born in Tennessee and I spent most of my adult life away, so I've been enjoying being back. It's definitely not a perfect place, but it is home. So what you gonna do? Man, okay. I've been going for like an hour. Who knew I could talk this long? I say that. I can talk to myself all day, probably. I moved to the Netherlands, and there's only one bookstore with okay-ish amounts of English books, so Book Depository is your Amazon. Yeah. First of all, that's so cool. If you would like to share why you moved to the Netherlands, I'm definitely interested to know that. But yeah, I don't know what I would... I mean, in theory, I speak French. I like minored in French. At one point, I would say I was fluent, and I can still read pretty well in French, but if I did not have access to English language books, I would be screwed. Do you do Kindle or like ebooks? Is that a thing for you? Besides BookTube, who are your favorite people to watch on YouTube? Oh man, so many. I love YouTube. I've never had cable in my entire life, in my adult life. I do shamelessly steal my mother's cable to watch RuPaul's Drag Race and Real Housewives of New York and the aftermath of Scientology. So I use that, and then I have Netflix and Hulu and YouTube. So I watch a lot of YouTube because it is TV to me. So some of my favorite channels, I used to watch a ton of beauty YouTube. I don't watch nearly as much, but in beauty YouTube, I still like watching, Smoky Glow is one of my faves. She's smaller, but she's growing pretty fast. Angelica Nyquist, Spooky Lips, Fat Hips. Oh, who else? Like that whole little kind of cadre of like 10 to 50,000 sub beauty YouTube tends to be what I like. And they tend to have more interesting opinions, I think, these days. So I watch that. I watch some keto YouTube, like Keto Connect, Keto Savage, people like that. I've been getting really into sort of like commentary and reaction channels recently. So like I've been watching a lot of Cody Ko recently. He's really funny. I like all of his That's Cringe videos. Okay, if you want to like get an insight into what me and Bookish were talking about earlier, religious upbringing, watch their reactions to Girl Defined, because it was like hashtag too real for me. So I really like Cody Ko. Angeline Oles, I've been watching her a little bit recently. iNabber, Shane Dawson, everybody watches Shane Dawson. Who else do I watch? Oh, and then I also really like H Bomber Guy and ContraPoints. ContraPoints, I think, is making some of the most interesting and thought-provoking videos on YouTube right now. I think she's really taking the whole idea of a video essay to the next level. Lindsay Ellis, speaking of video essays, I really like. Jenny Nicholson. I watch a lot of YouTube. I like a lot of people. Husband got a job here. Oh, gotcha. Dutch Amazon only offers ebooks, which you do get sometime. Okay. That's so interesting. So, sorry, I'm just being very nosy. Does the Netherlands make it easy for you to get a visa as a spouse? Because I've noticed that a lot of European countries, if your spouse gets a working visa, you cannot. Just interested in that. Okay, let's see here. Have you heard of Les Mis TV show on the BBC? Screenplays by Andrew Davies. And honestly, I think it's the only way I can consume Victor Hugo. He's far too verbose for my taste. Sorry, Monsieur Hugo. I have not heard of that. I will tell you that I'm one of the few people who does not enjoy Les Mis the musical because I don't tend to like the, I am walking down the street and I'm singing, hello, hello. That's not my favorite version of a musical. I like some of the songs from it, but watching an entire musical of Les Mis is not really for me. I remember really liking Les Mis and The Hunchback of Notre Dame as a kid, and I'm hoping to do a reread of one or both of those this year, so we'll see. But all that to say, I've not watched that show. Book Depository is my go-to as well. I wish I could get into ebooks, but it's just not the same. Ebooks, for me, I was able to make the transition with them when I thought of them like mass markets. So anything that I used to get as a mass market, I just get as an ebook now. And that was sort of how I made that transition, that I think of them as kind of more disposable books. Congrats on 3K. It was great to get to interact with you live. Hey, same to you, Bookish. Thanks for coming. Peter Likes Book now has a channel called Peter Reviews Stuff, and it's hysterical. I bet it would be. Oh, I didn't mention him. Yeah, I like his stuff. I was really liking a lot of his commentary stuff, and then he got real thick into the drama, and it was too much for me. It was right when my dad died, and I couldn't take, there was just a lot. I stopped watching him and Petty Page and that whole group for a while, but I should come back because I really like Peter. And I bet his reviewing stuff would be hilarious. I always like it when he gives his chapstick reviews on his commentary channel. That always makes me laugh. Yeah, Peter is great. Peter likes books. Peter gave me he was the first big booktuber to give me a shout out. I think I had 90 subscribers or something. So I will always remember him for that and be thankful because I got 30 subs off of that, which at the time was just the biggest thing ever. I mean, actually, that would still be a big deal to me if I got 30 subs in a day. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. My husband's an EU citizen, so that made things easier. Gotcha. Yeah, I've had a few of my friends move to somewhere in the EU with their spouse, and usually they were all US citizens, and they are not allowed to work usually. So, well, good. I'm glad that wasn't a problem. Sorry, I'm being so nosy. I'm always I don't know. I'm one of the nosiest people you will ever meet. That's why I like reading so much. I'm just it's a non-intrusive way for me to be nosy into either real or fake people's lives. It's also why I'm good at my job. So I get paid to basically be nosy and ask a lot of questions. So. Oh, by the way, shout out to Trader Joe's sparkling spring water. If you are addicted to La Croix, but you are at Trader Joe's, I think that these are really good too. I basically live off this. The other day I was Googling whether or not this is bad for my health, and I think the answer might be yes, but it's not going to stop me. Okay. Well, we've been here for an hour. Anybody have anything else they want to ask? I need to start making my food for the week. I need to make a bunch of sausages. Hey, Sophia. Oh, just heading to bed in the UK and saw live chat was happening. Yeah, I tried to pick a time that I thought would possibly work for people in the US and in the EU. Next time I'll have to pick a time that will work for people in Australia. Information is power, so they say, so being nosy should be on my CV. Basically, it is. I found a more businessy way to say, I'm a nosy bitch. So, future plans for the channel. I have videos planned out through 2020 because I have so many ideas and no time to do them all. One thing I'm looking into is seeing if I might try to do some version of video essays because I really like watching them, and I have a bunch of things from grad school that I think could be interesting as video essays. If you don't know, my like main thesis thing from grad school was basically looking at Jane Eyre as a prototypical romance novel, and then also layering onto it that it definitely is a romance novel with very specific Christian themes. So comparing it to Christian romance novels, bonnet rippers, they're not bodice rippers, they're bonnet rippers because so many of them are Amish. So I've been thinking about trying to find a way to make that into a video essay, just because will talk about that at cocktail parties, and people are always interested in like the batshit craziness that is that whole world. So I don't know, we'll see. But for now, I think I'm mostly just going to keep making, like, I have enough ideas to get me well into 2020. So I'm going to focus on that. And yeah, I think I'm such a book nerd and I like finding other book nerds. My biggest thing is I just want to have a space where I'm getting to have interesting conversations with other book people. And I don't know, as long as that's happening, then I think I'm feeling pretty good about things. Have I read the Robert Galbraith J.K. Rowling Cormoran Strike novels? Oh, Pam, I have. I read the first one. Me and J.K. are in a real awkward situation right now because J.K. Rowling used to be for me very similar to Beyonce in that it was like, girl, you've earned the right to my money. Like whenever you let me know when you want my $20 for whatever you're putting out and I will give it to you. Like, let me know. And we will make this exchange and I'll buy whatever you do. Then I read the first Cormoran Strike novel and I was like, oh, well, okay, maybe this was just a first novel situation. Then I saw the Fantastic Beasts movies and was like, I'm not sure about this. And then I read Harry Potter and the Cursed Child and was like, okay, we're revoking that privilege. I can see why people would like the Cormoran Strike novels. I don't think there's anything like intrinsically terrible about them or whatever. They just really didn't work for me. I do not like the loner detective, like noir type trope that it has. That's just not my version of what I like in a mystery. So like that series doesn't work for me. But I know people really like it. I mean, like they're really popular, and J.K. Rowling just like her authorial voice is great. So yeah, didn't work for me, and sadly was a part of removing her from my auto buy. But you know, get that coin. I mean, like she wrote Harry Potter. I'm forever indebted. Oh, we do have people from Australia and New Zealand. That's great. Okay, well, I'm glad to know that this isn't maybe like the worst time ever for you guys. Okay, Sophia says, I came to you via Alona Andrews. Any recommendations in that wheelhouse? At the beginning, I was talking about a new series I just started called Trail of Lightning, which I was saying was kind of filling that same kind of void for me. So this would be my biggest recommendation. Also, its own voices, Native American, and it's like using Native American or like Navajo lore to build the world. It's really good. That would be my biggest recommendation for you now. If you're into Alona Andrews, you might also try Mel Jean Brooke or Nalini Singh. I think that there's definitely some parallels there. If you're specifically looking for urban fantasy, if you've not tried Jim Butcher, he's kind of a classic series in that area. Can you look at my channel? I'm a big fan. If I get a chance, I feel so bad. I'm always so behind on my YouTube viewing, but yes, if I remember, I will. Rashad, well, yeah, I should do a rant review on Cursed Child. I'd love to see that. I did like a mini one in my more popular books I hate. Yeah. The Cursed Child, man, that was a journey. I second that. The Fantastic Beast movie was such a mess. It seemed to be getting edited. It seems like to get to be edited screenplay. Well, I think that nobody edits J.K. Rowling, and I was okay. Yet to be edited screenplay. Yeah. I was okay with her not getting edited towards, like, it was clear they stopped doing it in The Goblet of Fire, and it was okay in the main Harry Potter series. Like, I went with it. I know some people really resented that and stopped liking them, and I think that's fair. I think it's really a shame that nobody will edit her because, like, for instance, what was that book called? The Casual Vacancy. I think that book, if it had 150 pages trimmed out of it, would have been excellent. As it is, I think it's overblown. I still enjoyed it, but it's too long. And I really just wish somebody would strap on a pair and edit her, because like her books are just better if somebody will do that. Like nobody is above being edited. So yeah, the latest Fantastic Beasts movie was sort of like comically bad. I saw an article saying that they put the next movie's production on, they pushed it back a couple of months. So I'm wondering kind of what's happening with that. Same on J.K. Rowling, yeah. Everyone I know loved the Fantastic Beasts movies. I still haven't watched it. I think there's 2 now. Yeah, the first one was okay. Like, it was just, my take when I came out of it was like, that was a perfectly enjoyable way to spend a couple of hours. I will not remember anything about this in a week. Yeah, I think the first Fantastic Beasts movie was fine, not great, but fine, entertaining enough. The second one is kind of a mess. Yeah, it's the second one that is like risibly bad. It's basically an entire movie of people like looking off into the middle distance and giving you backstory that you do not care about. And you're just like, what? And then the end twist, the entire theater I was with was like, we were all basically kind of looking at each other like, girl, what? Like, what did we just see? What is this? Yeah, it was not good. The Casual Vacancy takes 100 pages to get into it, and honestly, I have no time to waste on 100 pages like this. Yeah, that was basically my feeling about it. I was like, just trim this off. Like, it doesn't need to be here. Can you recommend a place to start with sweet romance? The less sexual content, the better. My go-to on that would be Act Like It by Lucy Parker. There's no on-page sex. There's allusion to them having sex, like having had sex. There's nothing on the page. Kristen Higgins can be kind of problematic, but some of her books are kind of between chick lit and romance, and they tend to be on the sweeter side, sort of like closed door sex scenes. That's another one you might look at. Seriella, hey, watching from Puerto Rico. You had mentioned moving. How are you planning to deal with the books? Yeah. Well, okay, so I have moved, oh God, since I graduated from university, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in the last 9 years. So I've got my process down. Normally, if I was moving more than just a couple of miles, I tend to like those, like, I think they're called banking boxes. Like, you know, those like little white boxes that you can keep papers in, and they have the little handles in them. I think those are the best boxes for moving books because they can't get too heavy. Like, they're the right size, like, to keep them from getting too heavy, but they keep your books pretty well together. So that'd be my suggestion. In this particular move, I am moving very close by, and the way that my rent here times out versus when we close on the house, I don't have to move like immediately. So I'm going to move a little slowly. So I'll probably just use like reusable grocery bags and move most of them one day. So I think I'm going to do a vlog of moving, like of my bookish moving and like setting up my new shelves and stuff. So I don't know if you guys are interested in that, but I thought that might be interesting to see. I really like vlogs, but I always want to make sure I actually am doing something in them. I don't know. I mean, I know some people will watch people vlog anything, but for me, I don't know. I get kind of bored, and then I feel guilty that I'm bored because I like the person, but I don't just want to see like what they're eating for 30 minutes. Sorry, is that shady? I feel bad. Oh. Okay. Any other questions, guys? I might start wrapping this up. Have you seen the Isn't It Romantic movie trailer? If so, what did you think? I haven't. I don't know what that is. Is it a new rom-com? Okay, yeah. Sounds like people would be interested in the moving blog. About to move yourself and need inspiration. Girl, I'm sending you love. Moving is so stressful. And like, this is going to be one of the most chill moves I've ever done. Like I said, I'm kind of a pro at how I like to move by now, but it's still just sort of like, ugh. And it's going to be one where I do it slowly. So I'm not just like having your move all at once is stressful in its own way, but at least you just like do it and kind of rip the Band-Aid off. This is going to be slow and therefore I think a little bit painful, but numbs the brakes. I have to order a new bed, so I can't move until that arrives anyway. Moving blogs sounds great, and I agree on boring blogs. Yeah, I don't know. I feel really bad. I know some people love them. I know some people would literally just watch people eat breakfast all day. Like that has to be that must be why people like mukbangs, right? Like they just want to watch somebody eat. I don't understand. Especially packing kitchen things. Yes, that will be the upside of this move, is that I'm just going to take my kitchen things slowly, like the fragile things. I'm going to move very slowly so I don't have to worry about them getting destroyed. I get stressed out even when doing an overnight bag. Yeah. There's a meme somewhere that's like, any normal time I have like 2 pairs of underwear like clean, and I'm like, well, I can turn it out, whatever. But then as soon as you think you're going to be traveling somewhere, you're like, I need 30 pairs of underwear for this weekend trip. And I don't like, yeah. Anyway, whenever you're packing an overnight bag, it's like, I have to plan for every contingency. And I remember one time just having this moment of like, if you forget something, you're a grown-ass woman with an adult job. Like, if you forget your deodorant, you can go to the goddamn drugstore and buy a new one. It's not that big. I'm ashamed to say I've watched some mukbangs, don't know how to spell it. Don't be ashamed. Like, people love them. I just literally don't get it. Maybe if I really liked I'm trying to think, is there a person I would enjoy watching a mukbang for who I could literally just watch them talk about anything? Very few. What is it? Mukbangs, I think they started in Korea. I'm so sorry if I'm wrong about that. I think it was Korea, maybe it was Japan. And it's basically just like somebody orders an obscene amount of food, and then they like go live, or they film it, I guess, and they just sit there and eat it and people watch it. I think people like the companionship of eating with someone. Like, I think sometimes people like make their own plate of food and like eat along with them, maybe. I don't know. But it's a thing. I think I have a history with disordered eating, so I think seeing somebody binge like that is also just not comfortable for me, because like it's very tied up with a lot of like emotional freight, basically. So that's probably part of it. Do I live alone or do I have a roommate? I live alone. I will say the roommate I had in college is my very best friend in the world. She's basically a sister to me. So I'm not going to say I can't live with other people, but I definitely, like the number one reason I would think about not getting married is the idea of having a permanent roommate. So I definitely am, I'm more of a cat. I like to have my alone time and like come to people when I'm in the mood for them, as opposed to them just being there all the time. Only people I like Shane Dawson. Yeah, I bet I could see myself liking Shane Dawson. It's the connection. Yeah, sure, I can see that. I think if you really like the person, then you just want to hear them talk and like eat and do whatever. You feel like you're having a conversation with them. Yeah. It's not my deal, but different strokes for different folks. You can get different apartments like royalty. I have, honestly, guys, because, I don't know if this is TMI, but, I don't like sleepovers. So I have thought in the future, if I really fell in love, we might have to have separate bedrooms, because I'm I'm trying to sleep. I know some people love to cuddle, but for me, I'm this is my sleep time. I don't know what you're trying to do right now, but I am trying to sleep. The things people put on YouTube, oh, girl. Well, I think once we hit Ye Olde Suicide Forest, I think we officially knew that people would put anything on YouTube, right? Sophia says, congrats on getting your own home. I recommend a romantic partner who works away. Honestly, girl, that would probably be a pretty sweet setup for me. If I can find a traveling salesman or a consultant or somebody who travels during the week, that'd probably be a pretty good setup for me. Because I love people. I'm an extrovert, but I also I have a half sister, but we were not raised together. So I was raised as an only child, and I just have to have alone time, or else I just feel antsy. I guess I'm an ambivert. I don't know. Hey, Castle Library, Army Rose. No apologies for not being a living with someone person. There's so many of us. Yes, we're all just a bunch of cats. Me and my partner are introverts. We're really good at being alone together. Yes. That's my favorite time with people, like people I really love. Like one of my favorite things, or like a way that I know that somebody is a really good friend, is if we can just have an afternoon like reading together, like in the same room but doing our own thing. Like that's the best. Sleep in separate rooms, separate houses. Yeah, you know what? Just get a duplex and you can each live on one side. It's perfect. Episode of Gilmore Girls where Lorelai had a boyfriend who insisted on sleeping apart. I spent the whole episode confused why she was upset. Girl, same. I remember Jason. And I was like, I relate so much to Jason right now. Also, he gave her a beautiful room with a little pop-up TV. I don't know what the problem was here. Have I seen any good film adaptations of the romance novels I've read? Not really. I'm kind of a snob when it comes to movies. Like, I see so few of them that I want the ones I see to be good, and if they're not, I'm pretty savage about it. The best adaptations, I guess, like the BBC adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, but yeah. Fist bump for the cats, yes. I just love living with my parents, otherwise I get lonely. No. Hey, if I lived in my hometown, I would 100% live with my mom. We're big buddies. Save money, have people around. Also, she's retired, so she would do all the cooking. That would be a sweet setup. I've been realizing lately that I watch a lot of videos that lack substance on YouTube. Such a waste of time, and I'm gaining nothing for it. Definitely working on that. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that, I don't know. Like, if you personally feel like it's a problem, that's one thing, but don't feel like you have to watch things of substance. People are, you know what, like, I talk a lot about brain candy or whatever, and I say it kind of lightly because I think it's descriptive of what I'm talking about. But like, I think you need light things in your media diet. Like, I think it's healthy. If you spend like, I really love, for instance, in podcasts, I listen to a lot of like deep shit and like political and current event analysis and whatever. And I need a break from that sometimes. Like, I need, you know, if I spend the afternoon listening to Yasha Monk talking about how we can try to fight fascism globally, then when I come home, maybe I want to watch Shane Dawson do a conspiracy theory video, or maybe I want to watch T-Spill break down for me why she thinks that Manny MUA might have been paid by Morphe to talk about foundations in a positive way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's all about balance. And if you're enjoying, yeah, time enjoyed is not wasted. I agree. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's good to have self-awareness about the overall balance of things in your life, but like, don't let anyone shame you for what you like. I don't like it when people make people feel bad about what they enjoy. Unless what they enjoy is like illegal or actually dangerous. Emma Thompson's Sense and Sensibility. Preach. That is a gorgeous movie filled with beautiful costumes and good-looking men. Agreed. North and South with Hottie Mick Armitage. Yes, I see what you did there, and I liked it. I have not watched that yet because I have not read the book yet, but that is part of why I'm trying to read the book this year so that I can watch that miniseries. Clueless is also good. I love Clueless. I'm obsessed with Clueless to this day. I mean, some of the outfits are a little over the top now, but like, that yellow plaid was everything. And I don't know, what was it? Somebody the other day left it, on my classics video I put up this week, somebody was talking about how they didn't like Emma, and they were talking about what a whiny heroine she is, and like, I get that, and again, everybody's allowed to their own opinions. For me, I just am like, she's a young girl, and she's like, she comes from a really positive place, and she's spoiled, yes, but like, I don't know. I think if the worst character trait about you is that you don't fully recognize your privilege, but like, you're actively trying to make the people around you have better lives, like, there's worse people out there. Alan Rickman. R.I.P., but like, Alan Rickman was a stone cold fox back in the day. Also, I have a theory that if you picked a time capsule and you were only like, you could pick 3 actors and their entire body of work would be included in the capsule, but you can only pick 3. I've always thought it would be Alan Rickman, James Earl Jones, and I could never really decide who I think the third one should be. Like, maybe Clark Gable, maybe Humphrey Bogart. I'm not sure, but Alan Rickman was in some like classics of late 20th century film. Also, you get all the Harry Potter movies that way. It would be great. Did I know that Emma Thompson won an Oscar for her adapted screenplay? I did know that because Emma Thompson is a #boss. Like, she's awesome. Yeah. I really love the audio commentary of that with her and the producer. It's great. Clueless is such a clever movie. The use of language and costuming sounds so good. My favorite line about Clueless is from Trixie Mattel, because she always says, because she was talking about how much she loves Paul Rudd in that, which, I mean, let the people say amen, because he is a fine-looking man in that movie. And she's like, I just grew up knowing I would always be alone because I didn't have a stepbrother who'd fuck me. I love that one. Do I have any animals? No, I don't. I thought I would get a dog when I moved into the new house, but I'm pretty much not going to have a yard, so I don't think that's going to happen. I feel about animals right now the way I feel about children, which is I really enjoy other people's, but I don't think I want that responsibility right now. I like Emma because she changes and learns to be a better person and not manipulative. Yeah, I agree. I feel like she has character growth. Also, Mr. Knightley, like, I'm here for that. See my feelings about Paul Rudd above. I watched Die Hard, the first one, for the first time, and Alan Rickman was awesome. Yeah, he makes a great baddie, I think. The first Die Hard is a classic, yeah. Do you guys think that Die Hard is a Christmas movie? The perennial question. Emma Thompson is my fantasy wife. You could do a lot worse, honestly. I love Emma Thompson. She's so great. I think I don't know. She's made some questionable choices in the last few years, I think, but, you know, nobody's perfect. I've never seen Clueless. What is it about? I don't know anything about it. It's basically, it was made in the 90s as a teen high school drama retelling of Sense and Sensibility, or sorry, of Emma. Jane Austen's Emma retold as a teen drama in the 90s. It's everything. It's so good. Okay, sounds like we feel like Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Sophia watched it making a gingerbread house on Christmas. There you go. I loved Emma Thompson as Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing. I've not seen that one. I'm very excited because our classics book club at my local bookstore is doing Howard's End for February. And so I'm reading that, and then I can finally see the adaptation that Emma Thompson is in with Anthony Hopkins and Helena Bonham Carter. It's one of those Merchant and Ivory ones. Okay, double endorsement on Much Ado About Nothing. Emma Thompson style. My favorite Shakespeare adaptation is the Pacino version of The Merchant of Venice. I mean, actually, I love the Claire Danes, Leonardo DiCaprio, Romeo and Juliet. I mean, I'm a sucker for Baz Luhrmann's imagery, but I love Pacino chewing the scenery in that adaptation of The Merchant of Venice. Beatrice and Benedict riffing off one another is brilliant. Yes, Forrester is bae, and Ivory is amazing. I know. I'm really excited. I want to see all of those Merchant. That would actually be a fun, like, TBR project, would be to get a list of all the Merchant and Ivory films and try to read all the books for them. I love Maurice by Forrester. Is Maurice the one that we're pretty sure now is basically like a love story between two men? Is that the one from Forrester that's that way? Because I'd be interested to read that. Henry V was another collaboration she did with then Kenneth Branagh. That was great. Yeah, I actually love, is it called Time After Time, the one that they were in together? That sort of like time travel-y reincarnation thriller thing. Me and my mom loved that when I was growing up. We would watch that a lot. Kenneth Branagh is like real questionable for me, though, I gotta be honest. I know he's like one of the greatest actors of his generation, but like Dead Again. Yes, that's what it's called. Thank you. He's just seems like he's up his own ass a lot to me. And he got on my real bad side with the latest Poirot Murder on the Orient Express situation. That was not my favorite. Yeah, if that's when Hugh Grant is so good in that film. He's really something when he bought it. Yeah, Hugh Grant is like a legit actress. Or actress. That was Freudian, maybe. He's a really good actor, actually. I am so turned off by energy that Hugh Grant, like the type of energy he has. Like, it is just so, how to say, I am very attracted to the version of big dick energy that is not cocky. Like the quiet confidence that like almost is like gentleness. To me, that is so much sexier than like guys who clearly are into themselves and like Yeah. So Hugh Grant is just like not my type. He was a jerk. He cheated on her. There you go. Kenneth Branagh. Asshole. Kenneth Branagh can be really hit or miss. I think Emma Thompson years were his best. Agreed. I don't like Kenneth Branagh much. He's a real life Lockhart. He was like, he served it in that movie, but yeah, maybe because he was cast to type. That was not a good Harry Potter. Those first two Harry Potter adaptations were rough. Alfonso Cuarón, I think, really did that franchise a solid by making the third one, because it's probably the best movie in that whole series of adaptations, and definitely an improvement over the first two. To be fair, the kids had 2 movies behind them at that point, so we're also better actors. But yeah, Branagh was a very good Lockhart. Emma Thompson was a very good Trelawney. While we're on it, I feel like watching Harry Potter is basically just like, yes, it is the entire pantheon of great British character actors of that generation. He did give us Thor and Basic, and Hemsworth is bit. Whew. Chris Hemsworth can butter my muffins whenever he wants. That is a good-looking man. I will tell you that I have not seen a Marvel movie. I did see Doctor Strange, but I've not really seen one since the first Avengers. I'm just so not interested in those. I like looking at the pretty pictures of all the hot guys, but that's about it. I know that that's like sacrilege in our culture, but what can we do? I did like Wonder Woman. I know that's not Marvel, but I really liked Wonder Woman. I like the 6th movie because of Tom Felton. He's so good. That is true. I think this, actually the last 2, the 7th movie, like when they split up the 7th movie, I think that is an excellent adaptation. The first half, interpreting it basically as like a World War II movie, I thought was such an interesting choice. Yeah, I really like the later adaptations are very good too, I think. The only one missing from the Potter franchise is Colin Firth. Is he not? Oh, I guess he's not. His agent was sleeping. Someone fucked up. Have I seen Roma? I have seen Roma. I really enjoyed it. I did watch it on Netflix, and I think I probably would have liked it. I would have enjoyed it more if I'd seen it in the theaters and got the full like sound design thing. But I did watch it, and I mean, it's the kind of movie that you watch and you're like, I'm glad that somebody is spending this kind of money to make this kind of film. I thought it was really beautiful. I hear that so often that the third Potter was so great, but it's the one that stopped me watching the movies back in the day. I love the book way too much to be okay with the changes. That's fair. I always approach movie adaptations as an interpretation, and so long as I'm interested in the interpretation, I'm okay with changes. If I think it's a dumb interpretation, then I don't like the changes. But Black Panther, no, I haven't seen Black Panther yet. I want to see it though. I keep waiting to be in the mood for a movie night kind of thing and like cuddle up and watch it. Hey, Karen. Also, Helen Bonham Carter did such a great job. She's so awesome. Yeah. I mean, like the acting in the Harry Potter franchise is like top notch. I mean, you've got Helena. Who all, man. Yeah. Rickman is serving it. Richard Harris. Yeah, it's like an entire cast. Do you know what? Side note on the latest Fantastic Beasts movie, I want to give us I'd like to pour one out for Jude Law doing a solid Richard Harris impersonation as Dumbledore. I think the latest Fantastic Beasts movie was bad in spite of the genuinely solid acting that was happening in it. I was also not a fan of the Potter movies. They did a terrible job of capturing Ginny's personality. What personality? Yeah, there I said it. I also, sorry, I feel like I'm about to start a flame war here. I also read HP3 as a mystery thriller, but the movie was too horror-esque for me. Yeah, that's fair. Ginny has like no personality in the film. Smacked my head, yeah. I think she didn't really have a personality until she got transplanted Hermione's personality in the 6th book because J.K. Rowling realized like, well, fuck, why are Harry and Hermione not together? Let's try to do some magic here. The rumor is Branagh is directing and starring the remake of Death on the Nile. Yeah, that's a thing that's going to happen. And I will see it, and I'll let you guys know what I think. But I was not impressed with him as Poirot. I don't understand why they're giving him like an angsty, like romantic backstory. Did anybody want that from Poirot? Is anybody here like, you know what I wonder? Like who, back in the day when Poirot was just a young, strapping detective on the Belgian police force, Who was he getting it on with? Like, who was he trying to woo? Like, that's what I wanted. Nobody wanted this. I don't know why I felt like it was insulting to the audience of like, we need to give him something else to help you connect. I don't need this. I didn't ask for this. I like Maggie Smith as McGonagall. Agreed. Perfect casting. Maggie Smith is another boss. She is fantastic. She is great in the 70s adaptation of Death on the Nile. I love her in that. I would have loved a single Harry. He basically reenacted his parents' relationship with Jenny, and it creeps me out. Yeah. I think the part that annoys me about Harry and Jenny is that I think that part of why J.K. Rowling did it was to make Harry a real part of the Weasley family. And I think it's undermining the fact that, like, he didn't have to marry Jenny to be one of Molly's sons. Like, he became Molly's son. He did not have to marry into the family. Neither did Hermione to become a real part of that family. And I feel like that's part of what she was trying to do. And I just feel like it was underselling the situation she'd already set up, if that makes sense. Exactly, thanks. That's not part of his character. Agree on single Harry. Agree. We all just want like Harry to be be a bachelor, be running the, what's it called? Not the Dementors. He's not running the Dementors. The R's. Like, maybe he can just make it his life's work to run the R's. He can have like some tail on the side when he needs it, and like he doesn't have to get married. It's fine. But I think that that's something YA and middle grade is still sort of like evolving on, is this feeling that everybody has to get paired up. I say that as somebody who loves romances. Like, I'm a romance reader, but I just don't think that, I think sometimes people get paired up unnecessarily, and it's just like, we don't need this. I've read too many trashy fanfics to be swayed by the rivalry with Malfoy. Sorry, it's the perfect cliche. I would have been 100% here for Harry to end up with Malfoy. That, I would have been okay with that. I mean, really, from the text, he should be with Hermione, but I think even J.K. Rowling came out later and was like, yeah, I fucked that up. A lot of the relationships in Harry Potter didn't work for me, to be honest. Yeah, they don't, because they're just like side things, and I just don't think they need to be there. Have you seen the new BBC Agatha Christie's? Remember I covered this. They were too dark for me, too miserable for the source. So I have seen And Then There Were None. I thought that was actually a really, like, probably my favorite adaptation I've seen of And Then There Were None, except for the very groovy 60s version that I just like because it's campy and weird. I also saw Ordeal. Is it Ordeal by Innocence was the one? Was that or Witness for the Pro? It was Ordeal by Innocence. I would agree it was really dark. I don't know. I think they made some changes that they didn't need to, but it's like they're going, I would say they have a point of view. And I respect the fact that like they're bringing a point of view to the adaptation. So even if it doesn't always fully connect to me, I'm like, okay, at least you have like an idea that you're trying to execute. The ABC Murders has not come out yet in the US. It's going to come out on the 1st of February on Prime, on Amazon Prime. And so I'm going to watch that then. I'm probably going to do a live stream review of that weekend. Disagree. I love the Jenny and Harry relationship. They're adorable together. Yeah. See, I think a lot of people feel that way. It's the beauty of ships. Everybody gets to have their own passionate opinion. And I know that I'm not in the majority in terms of not liking the Jenny Harry thing. Apparently there's Hermione and Bellatrix fan fiction. Why? Bellatrix and Hermione. Okay. I guess maybe the same reason that there's a lot of Harry and Malfoy fanfiction, but like the age thing is weird there. I also thought that the subtext was always that like her and Voldemort were boning on the side, possibly. Or she at least wanted to be. I don't know if they were actually, but like she would be down to clown if he was. Am I a big fan of Hitchcock? Huge fan of Hitchcock. I don't know if you can see back there, but like, yeah. My favorite is Rope. But I love North by North. I love them all. They're so good. I love Hitchcock. It's fanfiction. There's everything out there. Fact. Probably because of the torture scene. Yeah, that's probably accurate. I guess there's something like Hagrid and Dobby. No. Oh, no. Oh, no. You're probably right, Serena, but that makes me really sad. Oh, there's a ton of Harry and Voldemort. Unquestionably. I could see Hermione and Malfoy, torrid little affair. Yeah, there's a lot of Hermione and Malfoy, I think. Fic. Dial in for murder! Yes, that's one of my very favorites. Like the part where well, when the murder of Dial M for Murder is happening, like the way the camera is angled in that is everything. So good. Drapple. Draco plus green apple. Okay, well there you go. There's something out there for that, like that's what we've learned really in the what is it now, like 25 to 30 years that we've had the internet readily available. We've learned that there's something or someone out there for pretty much everyone. There's so many books, new books copying his films, Love, Stranger on a Train, and so much more. Yeah, The Woman in the Window is basically Rear Window from what I can tell. I've not read that yet, but I'm like, I don't think I need to read this. I've seen that movie, and it had Grace Kelly and gorgeous Dior. Like, I don't need to see anything else. Stranger on a Train, yes, a fantastic, or Dial M for Murder is a fantastic locked room murder mystery. It is. Hitchcock. Well, what is the other one that I love? The one that's so fucking scary. One of the genuinely scariest movies. What is it called? It's the one with Kim What's-Her-Face and Jimmy Stewart. And they're like gaslighting him to thinking the girl isn't real or is dead. What was that one called? Oh, I'm getting old, guys. I can't remember these things anymore. North by Northwest. Vertigo. Yeah, Vertigo is like one of the genuinely scariest movies I've ever seen. I think it's the score too. Like all of the scores are always great, but that one is really, really scary. Have you seen a Harry Potter musical by Team Star Kid? It's a Harry Potter musical parody. I have not seen that, unless it's the puppets with the Snape, Severus Snape. I don't think that's what it is, but I'm sure I would enjoy a Harry Potter parody. I enjoy parodies in general. Anything that's meta or fourth wall breaky, I tend to like. Notorious is great. North by Northwest. Yes, everybody reminded me of Vertigo. Yeah, Vertigo is so good. I don't, what's-her-face, Kim, I can't remember her name, but the actress in it I don't think is one of the best Hitchcockian actresses, but she's still good. And then she's also in, I think, The Mirror Cracked later on. Yay, I'm glad you got to join. Have dinner. The Puppet Pal song is going to hunt. I know, I'm sorry. Yeah. How do you deal with problematic people like Hitchcock? I used to love his work, but the more I learned about him and his background with women, I find it harder to watch his work. It's tricky. It gets a lot easier for me if the person is still alive and producing things, like, frankly, Woody Allen. Like, I have no problem being like, oh, so we're done. Because, like, my money, I don't want to, I don't know. I feel like that's an easier call for me. For people who are dead and who did live in a genuinely different time period, I honestly feel like that's a case-by-case basis. And I also think it's probably a question of, like, how much you know about it and how much you have, like, personal conviction about it. And so I don't know enough about all of Hitchcock's weirdness. Like, I know some, but I don't know enough that it completely ruins the movies for me. And I think I probably saw and loved his movies early enough in my life that it would be hard for them to be ruined for me at this point. I think if I was trying to get into him now, it probably would be harder for me to do so. I think, frankly, just the, like, further, like, the more we have awareness about, like, power dynamics and privilege and things like that, I think some of these people are going to get harder and harder to deal with. But the bottom line is, if we really, like, that's true of most of old Hollywood. Like, you read these stories about the way especially women were treated, and it's, like, genuinely horrific. And, like, look up sometime Louis B. Mayer and Ann Miller's sitch. Like, that was very par for the course. And yeah, it's just gross. It's hard. I think it's hard. And I kind of, again, for people who are, like, when it's enough in the past that the person involved is dead and most of the people involved are dead, I have a lot more just, like, I think everybody kind of has to work that out for themselves. That was a very wishy-washy answer, but a Harry Potter musical is hilarious. Snape is like a goth. Draco is weird and sassy. Snape is problematic, BT dubs. The whole always thing, like, is kind of creepy. Let's just be real. Love Psycho, I'm such a basic bitch regarding Anthony Perkins. I mean, if you're looking for judgment, you're not going to find it from me. What book has your favorite twist ending in it? Girl, are you trying to just get me? Sorry, I assume girl just because it says gal. You trying to get me to spoil things for people? That's not very nice. Let's see. I will say that, I have a video where I talk about this actually, I think coming up this week. My favorite Christie villain. So not, okay, good. Girl. Glad I did not misgender you. My favorite Christie villain is in Crooked House. So, you know, I think any mystery basically has some level of a twist to it when you figure out who done it. So I'll just say that. You should check out a Harry Potter musical. Yeah, I definitely should. It sounds like I would enjoy that. I remember reading, or I saw the Shakespeare parody, like trying to do all the Shakespeare plays in one thing. That whole experience, I remember really liking that. Yes, Crooked House. It's so good. Is there any good? I've never seen, I think an adaptation of Crooked House came out recently, and I remember people being like, it wasn't very good. Is there any good Crooked House adaptations out there? Snape is so problematic. He bullies children where he's in a position of power. I don't care how obsessed he was with Lily Potter. Yes. Also, like, he's so, like, that nice guy who thinks that just because he loves you, he's entitled to your time. Like, ugh. Yes, reduce Shakespeare. Yeah, I remember seeing that when I was in college and absolutely loving it. I like parodies. I think I already said that. I love Mel Brooks. I love all those mockumentaries. Like, that type of humor really works for me. So, yeah, any other hot takes we can cover? Covered problematic people in history, covered like my unpopular Harry Potter opinions. What other unpopular opinions can I reveal to you? Let me see, any other hot takes I have. Well, I think in my viewership, this might not be too contentious, but I will tell you, I did try to read Six of Crows and just had a problem getting through it, so I put it down. So I may not end up liking that. And I know BookTube is obsessed with it, so we'll see how that goes. Oh, Men in Tights is one of my favorites. It's so good. I love the pantomime when they're behind the sheet and he's singing The Night is Young and You're So Beautiful. Like, I'm a 12-year-old boy and that shit makes me laugh. Upstart Crow is a Shakespeare comedy on the BBC you may enjoy. That is accurate. I may enjoy that. I feel like the BBC has like most of the things that I love to watch on it. I guess, well, it doesn't have Great British Bake Off anymore, sadly. So I guess maybe not entirely, but we're bunch. We're men, manly men, we're men in tights, tights. Oh, God, that's a great movie. Me and my mom are obsessed with Young Frankenstein. Like, we watch it probably twice a year together, and literally all we do is just sit there and quote it the entire time. Like, if I went to make her, like, even in the depths of, like, grieving for my dad, sometimes I'll just turn to her and say, "Put on the Ritz!" And, like, we'll both just die laughing because we love that so much. Italian Bake Off. The chef is really handsome. I mean, say no more. If you don't think that part of what I love about GBBO is the silver fox that is Paul Hollywood, then you don't know me. Also, Italian Bake Off would have some great bakes. I do. Part of what I really love about Great British Bake Off is, like, how to say this. So, like, I found this also when I lived in Canada. It's so interesting to me to see, like, cultures that are so similar to me as an American, but, like, we call things slightly different things and there's slightly different flavor profiles or whatever. So, like, I'm just fascinated by, like, expanding my vision of what pastry can be. So I'm sure I would also feel that way about Italian Bake Off. Because, you know, there's a ton of Italian influence on American food, but it would be interesting to see, like, OG version. Bake Off, I miss Mel and Sue. Same. I'm not that into the new host, guys, I gotta tell you. What is your opinion on the prevalence of YA on BookTube? Seems like other genres don't get as much attention. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like a fact of life. And I get a little impatient with people who are super, like, oh, there's only YA on BookTube, and, like, kind of want to shame people for liking YA. Like, I think it's so cool that kids these days have, like, used YouTube, which is, like, a version of social media, to share their love of books. I think that's great. And like, if you want to like find people who don't just read YA, like there's plenty of that. They're not as big. I mean, I'm about to come up on 3,400 subscribers, which for an adult channel is actually a pretty good size. So like, they're not huge, but like Jean Bookish Thoughts, she has like 60,000 subscribers and she's not reading YA. So I don't know. I mean, like, I get it because we all want to find, like, I don't primarily read YA. I never will. And so, like, yeah, there's a lot of the bigger channels that don't have things for me really on a regular basis. But, like, I still check in with, like, Emma Likes Books. I just like her personality and, you know, lets me know what kind of some of the hot new YA things coming out might be. And then, you know, I watch a lot of people who kind of read a combo. So, like, Sam from Thoughts on Tomes is one of my favorites. She reads a lot of fantasy. And she reads YA and adult fantasy. So, you know, kind of a mix there. I don't know. I guess I don't have as much of a hot take. I think my hottest take is that people who really wring their hands about YA to me, I'm just a little impatient with, because I'm like, you know what? If kids are reading, that's great. Like, or if adults are, if anybody's reading, I think that's great. And, you know, I got, you know what, I probably feel sympathetic because people also shame like romance readers or whatever. And I'm like, you know what, I work 60 hours a week. When I come home, sometimes the only thing I can focus on is romance or something lighter. And like, I work hard. I should be able to do what I want in my free time. Sorry, that got really grumpy. I hope that wasn't too negative. Have you tried to read any Joanne Fluke books? I haven't. I might at some point. I've been curious to try to get into more cozy-ish mystery type things. I love Emily Fox's recommendations. I do too. Emily Fox is one of my favorite booktubers. I like it because she's not afraid to be negative and like straight up. She reminds me, yeah, she's very Quebecoise. And I enjoy her kind of delivery. I want to hear more rants about the inability of booktubers to admit they like romance novels. I definitely feel that way. I think recently I've seen more people kind of outing themselves. I don't know. It's just, it's, how to say this? I think some people genuinely don't like romance novels, which is fine because not everybody likes everything. But I do think a lot of people like romance novels as long as they're not called romance novels, which is why a lot of people like reading YA contemporary and YA fantasy. Because primarily what they're reading for is romance. And what it might be is that they don't like romance with explicit sex, which again, I think is totally understandable, but like not all romance has explicit sex. You don't have to go there. I don't know. To me, it's just usually an unconscious version of like internalized or externalized misogyny. So that's the part that bothered me. But again, we're all on our own journeys and do what you got to do. Hey, is it Dalal? Dal? What do I think of Narnia and the books? Adore Narnia. The books. Magician's Nephew is my favorite. I like the adaptations that they made. I think they lost steam on them and now the kids are too old, so it'll be interesting to see. I think they want to try to make some more. I'm not sure how that'll go. Yes, sometimes life is dark and all you want is some enthusiastic consent and a happy ending. Euphemism, accidental. Is it? Yeah, I mean, sometimes, like, in my last wrap-up, I was talking about the Midwinter mail-order bride, and I was like, this is the best nonsense I've read in so long. Because it was like a warlord barbarian in a fantasy world who all he wanted from this woman was her enthusiastic consent for him to perform oral sex on her. And, like, I enjoyed how much fun he and the heroine had traveling around this fantasy world, and him being uncertain of her enjoyment of his advances, like, and wanting to make sure that she was really into it. And I just like, it was what I needed. And what was, it was my first Christmas without my dad. I just wanted something light and fun. Like, it was a great distraction. I enjoyed it. I read so many just completely trashy holiday romances this year, and it was awesome. Blazing Saddles. Yes. So good. Love a bit of light romance novels after all the mysteries and thrillers. Yeah, I think that's the other thing. I read a lot of like serious nonfiction and serious fiction and whatever. And like, I like to have I like to mix it up a little bit. It can't all just be grim and murdery. Sometimes it's good to see people having a happy ending. YA can have a lot of sex in it too, though. Yeah, it definitely can, especially now. So I'm not sure that that's as much of a reason why people are not into it. Recommend some trashy romances, please. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, like the full trash. Well, I think I mentioned her in that wrap up too. Alexa Riley is my latest like pure trash find. They are parodies and they are very funny. They are very problematic though, so like read at your own peril. What else? Lindsay Sands is one of my go-to like brain candy type authors who's just like light, silly nonsense. She has historicals with Scottish lairds who are also very strangely into enthusiastic consent and performing cunnilingus, which I'm not sure is terribly historically accurate, but whatever. I think it's called The Highlander Takes a Bride is one of my favorites from her in that. And then she also has the Argento Vampire series, which I did stop. I think I officially said I was going to DNF that coming up this year. I'm not going to necessarily continue at this point in the series, but the early ones are great. I really like Love Bites is the second one in that series. It's one of my favorites. So she's some good trash. How do I go about reading classics? I'm struggling. I find I struggle to concentrate on them, so it takes me many months to finish a book. Totally understand that. You know, one of the things I do for like longer ones is I pick how long I want it to take me to read, and then I just literally go through and like parcel it out. So like I keep meaning to do this and keep not, but when I finally get some time, I'm going to do that with the Moonstone. Like I'm like, okay, I want to read this in 4 sittings. So I split it up into 4 chunks of, I think, like 150 pages. And I find that makes it a little more approachable of like, okay, I've got 4 sittings with this. I'm only getting through 150 pages now. And it's weird to say that because it makes it sound like you're not enjoying it, but I totally get it. Classics can be kind of intimidating. They're harder to get through. You have to kind of get into the flow of the language. I do think trying to push yourself to get through it in a concise time frame can help, because I think if you let it like linger too long, you're never fully getting in the flow of it, so it's harder to enjoy. But I don't know. And maybe like pick some shorter ones to kind of like flex your muscles with. The Picture of Dorian Gray is sort of my go-to recommendation for a short classic that I think is really engaging and good. You could also try the Sherlock Holmes novellas / short novels. I think those are pretty approachable classics to get in with. Things starting small. Little Women might be a good start. Yeah, start small. You mean not every romance book has barbarians that have joined the Me Too? More of them than you'd think. Like a lot of them have nowadays, which is what I love. I love that. That should be a tag on Goodreads. Barbarian warlords who have joined the Me Too movement. They're out there and they are making sure that you are enthusiastically consenting, and they do not need reciprocal oral pleasure. They are just focused on you. You mean not every, let's see here. I know it's hard to answer my questions, but what is your most favorite book of all time? That's actually not bad. Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is my all-time favorite book, followed by The Remains of the Day by Kazu Ishiguro. 2 favorite books. Oh, Jekyll and Hyde, recommended as a classic to try. I read that back in the day, and then I read, is it Mary Riley? Like the one that was like from the maid's point of view, which I was not as into. A Room with a View is also quite easy to get through. Agreed. Yeah, that's pretty good. Audiobook helps with classics. That's a great idea. Listening to Anna Karenina because I can't seem to get through the text. Yeah, that's a great idea. I know there was a podcast where they were reading Moby Dick, like a chapter a day on that podcast, because the chapters are actually quite short. So that might be, if you can look that up. They had a bunch of great actors doing it, like Tilda Swinton and all kinds of people reading Moby Dick. So yeah, audiobooks are good. I have the Richard Armitage, David Copperfield audio, and I'm really excited to listen to that this year. I think that'll be good. I'm losing my voice, guys. I may have to end this. I was just meaning to pop on here for a half hour, and we're like 2 hours in now. Serena girl, you've been here from like the jump, but you're sick, so I have you like trapped. How do I think Sherlock Holmes compares with Agatha Christie? I personally prefer Agatha Christie. I think that her books are more substantive, but then again, most of the Sherlock Holmes oeuvre is in short story form, so it's hard for them to be as meaty. But that being said, I think it's totally a matter of I love Sherlock Holmes as well. Love those short stories. And I think Sherlock Holmes in general, it's more about his ingenuity than really the reader having a shot of guessing what happened. Versus I think in Agatha Christie, especially as you read her more, you have a decent shot of being able to solve the mystery. So I think that also can kind of drive preference, because I think a lot of the Sherlock Holmes short stories like require very specific knowledge that's unlikely that the reader will have. So, but I love Sherlock Holmes. Love Richard Armitage's voice. Girl, it's a thing. I find that starting some more difficult books on audiobooks help me transition to the paper format a few chapters in. That's true too. I think if you can switch between audio and print a lot, I do that a lot with my Agatha Christie rereads. I'll kind of go back and forth because I already know what happens. You're keeping me company in my sick bed. Good. I'm glad you can have sympathy with you. Don't read classics when you only have like 10 minutes. That's very true. It's too hard to get into the language in that short of amount of time, and many plots are too complex to remember when the next time you've got 10 minutes. I think that's a good point too. Like if you can pick, like in the next 2 weeks, I know that I'm going to have a good like hour every day that I can commit to this. I think that's a great tip. That sounded worse than I meant to. Hey, whatever. Yes, we hope you feel better soon, Serena. Does anyone have any tips for getting into audiobooks? I think if you have any nonfiction topics you'd be interested in listening to or listening about, that's a good way to get into audio. So like if you love like historical nonfiction, or if you listen to like podcasts that are on certain topics, like maybe try to find a book that's on a similar topic. Lovely wind down for Sunday night. Oh, good. I'm glad I could help you wind down. You should really be sleeping right now. Go to sleep. Sleep is very important. That is one of the quickest ways to improve your overall sanity and health, is to be getting enough sleep. Though I know some people struggle with like, honestly, if you have a hard time sleeping, like I'm not being ironic or sarcastic at all. My heart goes out to you, because literally besides reading, my favorite hobby is sleeping, and I cannot imagine having a hard time doing that. So the way that sometimes I listen to an audiobook while physically reading it, no, it's like listening and reading along. That's how I learned to read. That's how I taught myself to read. I do that for foreign language books. Yeah, that makes sense. It's a good way to learn it. Oh, okay, guys. I think my voice is pretty much gone, and I need to cook for the week. So I should probably go. I do while watching Much Ado About Nothing with David Tennant, because he acts with a Scottish accent. Have I ever listened to a Steve West narrated book? I have not, but if his voice can melt butter, I'll have to get that on my list. Okay, guys, my light is gone, my voice is gone. I think it means it's time to wrap up, but this is really fun. I enjoyed doing this. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Thank you so much for all the people who've been here a long time, all the new people, everyone. You guys make this fun for me. This is such a fun hobby, and yeah, I love doing it, and I'll keep doing it for as long as I love it. So anyway, have a good day or night or afternoon or wherever you are, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Doom, 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 doom.